Well, a wildfire at a Defence Force training base in Logatla in the Northern Cape has claimed 6 lives, sadly. The Defence Minister, Thandi Modise, extending condolences to the families, the friends and the colleagues of the SA Army members. Once again, I need to bring in the Secretary of the SA National Defence Union. It's Pikkie Greeff making time for us this morning. Pikkie, hello again and condolences to you and all of the Defence Force colleagues. Once again, you and I talk about another tragic loss in the defence sector. Let's start here. Do we have any idea what led to this blaze?
Well, that is unclear at this stage. Obviously, the Defence Force will be investigating that. What we hear, of course, is that it originated in a nearby mine. But, what the cause of the fire was, we don't know. We do know that it was obviously made worse by the fact that the winds were up to 70 kilometers an hour.
When you talk about the training that's taking place up there, just help me understand, those of us who don't know the defence sector very well, is this a very big training camp? Is it a branch of a training camp, or is this a main area where training takes place?
Well, it's the combat training centre of the SA Army, and so it's a huge, vast area on the Northern Cape. And this is where you would typically have exercises in terms of, rolling out your mobile abilities and your full force strength to simulate battle scenes and circumstances. So it's a huge area. It's very exposed, being on the Northern Cape. The geographical area that it is, and it's very exposed to elements.
When you now look at how it's being handled by the SANDF as well, unfortunately, it's been a devastating few weeks. You and I think this is the second or third time you and I have been speaking. I mean, questions are now being asked about top management, top brass, and the protection of our soldiers.
I think we must firstly accept that, soldiering comes with its own inherent risks. I think we've discussed this before. And this just goes to show how exposed soldiers are. But that is the nature of soldiering. I think it's a bit premature to start looking at blaming or finger pointing. I think investigation should be done. There can be circumstances where wrong decisions are taken and that leads to a loss of life. Or there can be circumstances that's simply force of nature and which, will overrun anyone in any given circumstances. I think the important thing to realize is that operational incidents will happen. That is a given, and that the Defence Force should investigate all those kinds of issues and get to the root cause or how it can be prevented in future. And that's all the Defence top brass can do at this stage.
What now happens with the training and the preparation at this military camp? Is the entire camp shut down? Is it just the one section? Is it business as normal? As you say, this is one of the inherent risks of being in the SANDF and our armed services. Do we just carry on as normal for now?
Absolutely. We carry on as normal. The mission is not off. It has to be completed. This is the nature of soldiering. It's tragic when you lose your colleagues like this, but that doesn't mean that the mission ends. Even in times of war, obviously you're going to get tragedies like this. And, it sounds harsh, but it is a learning school and a learning curve for soldiers who are deployed there. And the mission will carry on. Certainly it will carry on.
How does the union now assist, if in any way, the families of those members of the Defence Force that we lost? What's the union's involvement at this point? What are you needing to do? What are you being called upon, Pikkie, to do?
The union is dispatching certain of our office bearers and officials to Logatla to go and find out on the ground what is needed. At this stage, we do know that the families obviously need counselling, and obviously also the colleagues who saw their colleagues perish in this fire. And we've just got an open door policy in that regard. If somebody out there needs us, they just need to pick up the phone and call us, and we'll provide whatever assistance they need. So far, we're making an assessment of the situation on the ground, and we'll know more fully by tomorrow afternoon what exactly the needs are.
There's going to be questions about, even as you say, and I don't think many people will disagree with you, Pikkie, obviously, that this is what the SANDF and our armed forces are trained for. They put themselves in dangerous situations, even in training. But this wasn't a training scenario. This wasn't a simulation gone wrong. Could this not have been handled better? Where were the firefighters, for example? I'm imagining they would have had expert firefighters in an area as dry as the Northern Cape. I think that's where there's some concern coming in.
Now, the SNF does have the firefighting capability. In fact, I think we're giving them too little credit. You know, they courageously fought that fire and they brought it under control. And then other fires flared up around the area that had nothing to do with the initial fire. That just shows the scale of the disaster. You know, there were plenty of farms destroyed, livestock destroyed outside of the base as well. It's just the enormity of this whole event. It's just force of nature. It would seem all evidence indicates to that. So even if you have the best firefighting teams on the ground, which the SNF does have, it's not to say that that team is going to be able to, successfully or at all times fight all fires successfully, especially at the scale that this fire was. They did manage to bring it under control. Obviously, some equipment and personnel were lost, but they still did the job. I think even the best firefighting force in the world would not be able to contain immediately such a scale of natural disaster.
It's going to start becoming quite a problem PR-wise, Pikkie, as well, because it was just a few weeks ago, you and I were talking about the 8th Battalion, the 8th Psy Battalion. 4 of their members lost in, I think it was the trucks that overturned. There was a tyre that burst, I think, if memory serves, and there were 4 members lost there. From a PR perspective, just because of the speed of media these days, it's starting to not look very good for the SANDF, losing people in times of peace.
Yes, it doesn't look good, but I think rather than, criticize, one should let these incidents underscore the danger that is associated with soldiering. These kinds of incidents occur in every army across the planet. It's not unique to the SNDF. And speaking about the speed with which news travels, yes, it is a bit of a PR challenge. But unfortunately, from a Defence Force perspective, if they're going to thoroughly investigate these kinds of incidents, then, speed is not a luxury that one has, because if you're thoroughly going through evidence and getting to the root cause of incidents, then, unfortunately, that takes time if you're being serious about it.
Pikkie, Greeff, hopefully we won't talk again. Not that I don't enjoy talking to you, but hopefully it won't be a tragedy next time we talk. Pikkie Greeff, making time for us this morning. SA National Defence Union Secretary. It's Pikkie Greeff joining us, sadly off the back of the news that 6 SANDF members having lost their lives in a fire. It was just a few weeks ago where 4 lost their lives. It was during a motor vehicle incident.